Hey everyone, it's Buck here from Blender-amigos. So today we are gonna finish off our table. So this is the third part. I am going to introduce you to the material node in Blender Cycles, and we're gonna do unwrap our table using the principles from tutorial 2, and we are gonna apply a wooden texture onto it. All right, so let's get started. So this is where we left off. So we got our table here. So now what we want to do is to unwrap it first. Actually, no, let's I'll introduce you to the material node first. So as you can see, this is our table right now. It's white and it's pretty bland and boring. So we are gonna add a material different color into it. So firstly, let's split up this screen and let's change our view to node editor. So what's going to happen here is, let's go to our material button. So it's a sphere here, and add a new material. As you can see, when I add a new material, these nodes pop up. Now let's name our material first. Always good practice to kind of like name everything. So let's just name it table. So you can see here, we got a diffuse. So this is um, the natural color of the object in white light. Basically, without any gloss or or reflections and transparency. So this is the pure color of it. So you can see here, whatever happens on this side correspond to on this side. So we got a material output. So if we change the color, let's go into our preview render shading by going to over here. So it's white right now. So but if we change the color, it changes the color over here. That's exactly what we want. So the node setup is quite simple. Basically, you got input and then an output. So it's basically what you want and what you want it to show. And if you change over here, um, it changes over. It changes in the node editor too. So what that means is, I'm gonna leave these two here open when we texture this, so you can see what's happening on this side. But when you get used to it, when I got used to it, I kind of like work with only the node editor. Didn't even bother look at this. I'm just like object and node editor, and yeah. So you kind of, but I'll leave this here so we can see what's happening between panels, so we have a better understanding of how Blender Cycles node editor work and the new system. All right, so this is a quick introduction to Node. So now we are going to unwrap our table. All right, so let's go back to wireframe mode or solid mode, whatever. And we are going to go to UV image editor, and let's get rid of this render. Now, what we want to do is, I hope you guys all kind of like got your account from CG textures. So what we're going to get is this texture here. I'm using this texture Woodfine 00341313s, or you can use the other one. I'll be using this one, the 13s one. So when you go to your UV image editor, then you go to image, and we open a new image, and we find where our texture is. I recommend you guys kind of like, for every individual project or individual Blender files, you have your own kind of texture folder in there, so you can pick it up. And if you want to transfer it anywhere, you just grab the whole folder instead of like, oh, here's the Blender file. Now I have to find all my texture in my separate texture file. It's kind of cumbersome at first having multiple texture in one texture in multiple places, but it's very convenient when you kind of like doing transfers and stuff. So this is my own practice. You can do however you like, as long as you kind of get your own workflow. That's what matters. Okay, so I'm gonna import this in open image. All right, so here's my image. uh, so we basically, what we want to map is the top. uh, so let's treat our table as a cube, right? So what we want to do, oh, and I still left the mirror modifier on because I'm gonna add most of my seams So that's where I'm gonna cut it. Yeah. And then I'm gonna apply the modifier, and it should kind of duplicate around all the other edges, and then I'll take out the ones that I don't need. Alright, so with this table, it's a very simple object. Um, what we want to do is want to separate the top of the table. So to separate the top of the table, I'm pressing. Oh, I'll better turn on the screencast. Alright, so press Alt. So to select the whole edge flow, and then Shift Alt to select the next one. So I'm gonna put a seam into here. Go down to here, or U. No, not U. Actually, can't remember. If you can't remember, then you go. Mark. Oh, doesn't matter. It's usually on your this panel here. If you don't have it up, just press T. I'll bring it up and go to UV mapping and mark seam. So what we're saying here is when we unwrap this the top of the table is going to be separated from the rest of the mesh. That's what we want. And for this table, we trying to do is we want to separate the legs from the top of the table, and then the sides of the table, kind of like this sides here up to there is gonna be. I'll show you. So this here is gonna be kind of like continuous, a strip here. So let's get rid. No, I did it. So let's just get rid of that. All right. So I'm just drawing so you guys can see. So we want to separate that strip too. So we're gonna select that, the edge there, and mark the seam. And now, again, I want to separate the table, the leg. So basically, I'm gonna cut the leg off at its connection right here. So I'm gonna go to wireframe mode, and you can see the little square there. So if you can't see it, just follow the leg. So if the legs come up to here, that means that's one edge. So actually, if you go into edge select, maybe that will make it quicker instead of selecting vertices. So you can do that by Control Tab edge, or just go down here and edge selection. So we're gonna select that, and that, and we're gonna mark the seam. Alright, so now what we basically have is two a rectangular prism. Sorry, I haven't done maths for so long, I kind of forget all the terminology of mathematics, but geometry. So we got two rectangular prism, which is the simplest of shape that we can have when it's come down to second simplest. The simplest is just a plane, but then there's not a lot of seam marking. Alright, so we are going to select the edge in here. I don't want to select the edge outside because basically people can see it. That's all. In the inside, kind of like hide it. I guess when you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, but I can see the inside of that. Like, doesn't really matter. It's this exercise is about UV mapping, not perfect picturing. Well, we'll get to that as we move on. I haven't mastered myself, but as I'm trying to teach you guys, maybe I can find out and pass on my knowledge. Alright, so we want to mark that seam in there. And now what we see is, so it's like a tube, and then we cut down here. So we want to really open all these sides up. So to do that, I have to mark these 3 seams here, not 4, because I want this little square here to be attached to that side. So let's hide this. So I want this little square here to be attached to that side. So yeah. Alright. Let me just quickly use pencil surface. Alright. I'll leave it like this, so kind of. Okay, let's do it. Right, so when I try to explain how to UV map, unwrap, I can show you. So basically, what we want is this to be continuous. It's really hard. Right, so what I want is this to be continuous over here, and all the way here, and all the way here. and that's why I marked the seam there so we can cut it. And I want this side to kind of be continuous there. So you kind of get the picture here. So let's select our thing, and we got that selected. We are going to mark the seam. Alright, so we got the seam marked. Most of our important seams are marked. We'll add in other seams later. And now we are going to apply the modifier by going to the spanner icon, and apply mirror. Now you can see that it cuts our work into 4, because now we did one side fourth, and we did one side, and now it copies on the other side. Right, so the legs are pretty much done. We just gotta fix up. Actually, let's do a test unwrapping to see what it looks like. So you can see that this is the top of our table. These are our legs. I'll turn synchronize selections on. So you can see these are our legs. I haven't selected all of them. And this one is our top of the table, or bottom, and this is our top of the table. And this weird kind of twisty thingy here is our side. Well, the reason why it's twisting like this is because we the whole thing is continuous, and Blender is kind of like trying to flatten it out. It's almost like if you get a rubber band and you're trying to flatten that out, it looks like this. Unless you cut the rubber band, then you can kind of flatten it down to a nice flat strip. So to cut it out, I just select any of these edge here and just mark the seam there. Let's do a unwrap, and there you go. Perfect straight map. Alright, I'm gonna do a little bit something more, a little bit further, because I just want to kind of have the principle pat down with kind of easy models. What we want to do is, imagine you have a more complicated object. If you separate everything into the individual faces, it's gonna be pretty much impossible. So what we want to do is kind of join faces together where possible. So we can say, okay, that's the top table, join to the edge, join to the bottom, or that's the arm, join to the hand, join to the fingers. If you kind of separate every faces out separately, you'll be like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, or you'll be there a long time. So what we want to do then is to get rid of some seams. So I want to get rid of this seam, clear seam. So now what I'm saying there is this here is connected to that. I'll collect this seam and clear seam. And now what I'm saying is this one and that one, and it's not drawing on surface. This one and that one is connected together. And let's do a test render. Test unwrap. You can see that's what's happening there. So that's what we want, and that's basically our unwrapping done. No. Alright. I haven't used grease pencil much, but grease pencil is a really useful tool. Kind of, you can, if you have kind of like one of those drawing pads, you can actually draw your model onto anything and have a rough idea of where you want to model. That's beyond my teaching. Actually, I haven't used it that much, but there's some cool kind of like hand-drawn animation in 3D programs in Blender. I'll link it to you guys if you like. Anyways, kind of rambling on there. Right, so we got our thing here, and so we basically unwrap the thing. But you can see, if we even show this, just from telling from here, the table is a pretty tiny table, because each of these panels here is nearly 1/10 of the table, which is if it's a really small table, then that makes sense. But basically I want to size it up a little bit, maybe like that. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so that's what we want. So you can't see it there for now, and even if we render, we can't see it. It's still this color. Why? Because if we go to, let's split the screen by, see that little triangle there? We're gonna go to node editor. So what we want to say is, let's get rid of this node. Let's to add a node, Shift A. Turn this. So you can add it here. Diffuse. So we want is, I want to tell Blender that instead of the color, I want to add in an image texture. Well, you can do that by Shift A over here and shader, no, texture, image texture. So the basic principle with basic, but not the absolute principle, is that the color dot correspond to the color dot, but there are exceptions. But I will go into that as the series, the tutorials progress. So with the image texture, I'm gonna grab the image and go into wood, and now you can see it's appearing. It's not the best thing at the moment. You can see here, wood don't actually do that, and the legs is kind of weird. It's basically the orientation is wrong. So let's select our table, and to make it easier, let's go to texture view. Alright, so now you can see your texture map. So what we want to do is we want to kind of like rotate the thing 90 degrees. So we have a strip going here. So rotate 90 degrees. So this gives a better and probably more realistic result. It's not absolutely realistic. It's more like melamine onto an MDF table kind of thing, more than an actual wooden table. But it will do for us for now, because otherwise you kind of have to do a different wood texture here. So to see the end of the wood, but that's multiple texture. I will get into that as the tutorial progresses. But here the legs, you can see it's much better. Probably we want to, let's turn this off here. So what we want is probably to make these legs a little bit bigger. Doesn't matter if you overlap them. Alright, like that. And probably we can make this. So I'm just selecting one side and kind of make it a little bit bigger. Oops. Oh yeah, because my legs are in there. Let's just, so if you don't wanna, if you want something there but you don't wanna muck around with it, then just hide it. Probably Control H. Nope. Let's move it out. Alright, sorry about that. Alright, so we want to select that side, and we're just gonna make it a little bit, probably one panel thick. Yeah. Oh, dude. And let's do a render preview. And that's pretty much it. But I would probably want to put a little bit glossiness onto this. So we're gonna go back into here. So we're just gonna leave our texture like that. Let's pull this down, pull this over. So let's add in Suzanne the monkey. Mesh Suzanne the monkey. So we can see kind of like its reflection. Monkey. Let's just leave it floating for a little bit. And we are going to render. Alright, so now you can see there's no reflection of Suzanne. So we want to have a what it called a glossy node. Shader, Shift A, sorry. And go to shader and go to glossy. And so we want to mix these two together, and luckily there's something called a mix shader. So a mix shader is different to a mix shader node is different to a mix node, but we'll get to that. in a minute. So what you're gonna have here now, the mix node is gonna mix the diffuse and the glossy together, and you can change the factor of blending, so mixing, so you can have what the desired effect. And so we'll connect this to that, and as you can see now, it's kind of like give us this kind of like dull effect of our texture. So what's that kind of like is it's almost like you covered your table in a glass shell. That's what it kind of look like. But we kind of like saying, oh yeah, the tech. We kind of like painted varnish onto it to make it glossy. We didn't put glass over it. So what we're gonna do is connect our image texture into the color here of the gloss, and then that will bring our texture back. But at the same time, you can see a little bit of reflection here. So that's what we want. So what this roughness means is, let's disconnect all of this. Actually, just kind of put that there. What's this roughness? I just want to show you purely like this. What this roughness means is how glossy it is. If you put to 0, it's like a mirror. If you put to 1, it's I'm not sure what it is. It's kind of like metal, not metal, plastic kind of thing. But as you can see, the reflection is not as clear. We probably some faint reflection, but it's basically telling you how scattered the lights are when it hits the table, kind of thing. I'm not sure if that's technically correct, but if you muck around with it, you understand. So let's reconnect. I had to muck around with it for a while. You understand? So we'll reconnect all of that. Let's turn our roughness down to 0.1 so we can have some kind of reflection. You can see a little bit of reflection of Suzanne here, and that's pretty much what we want. It's a long tutorial for a simple thing. So I'll probably break this up and have a full tutorial on this on just a quick lighting, like simple lighting. But this is pretty much what I want. But the lighting so far with kind of like global lighting is not so bad at the moment. So I'm just gonna pause the recording and let the render happen. Alright guys, and I just rendered my thing at 200 samples, and it doesn't look too bad at the moment. It looks okay, not the best thing, but I left the Suzanne there so we can kind of see a little bit of reflection. But we are gonna replace Suzanne with other objects as we move on to the modeling part, so using other modifiers to model. So I'll probably leave it here and introduce 3-point lighting another time. Sorry to disappoint anyone who wanted to learn 3-point lighting, but Blender Cookie again provides great tutorial on 3-point lighting. So it's good you check that out. I'm not a professional on lighting yet. There's a long way for me to go, and I hope we can all do it together. All right. So I'll see you next time.